Okay, we are now live. And so, any of my family members or friends, or any of Karen's family members or friends who see us, let us know if you can hear us well and if we are actually live.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm getting the notifications on YouTube and on Facebook, so I do think we are
Excellent.
live. We
Awesome.
always spend just a few moments just waiting to get people in. So welcome anyone who sees us and is ready to be a part of our conversation this evening. It is already the end of the weekend,
Hmm.
so I know a lot of people are just upset that tomorrow's Monday. So hopefully we
Yeah.
can give them a couple of smiles and laughs tonight as we chat with one another. But we do want to welcome people as they come in. We're happy that we have it live on our YouTube channel as well as on my personal page on Facebook and the Heirloom Foundation page on Facebook as well. Karen, did you have a chance, or maybe I don't know if that if your husband was in the background, had a chance to share your video with your network, just to make sure they can be a part of it too.
Yes. Let's see. Let's see. Do that.
Yes, okay. So I'm getting a thumbs up from folks, and we are live.
Okay.
So that actually worked. And although you're not able to see what I can see, so what I can see is like they're going to give us comments and all that stuff. So every so often I might pause and tell you what somebody said.
Okay.
But we're
Great.
going to get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Dr. Monique, and I am the founder and visionary for the Heirloom Foundation. I am excited to have Karen this evening, Karen of Garden of Zens. This
Yes.
evening, we have our, at this point, about 2 times a month, we're having In My Nature, which is just a dialogue with people of color who have some sort of connection with the earth, with the land, in some way, form, or fashion. I have found in talking to lots of people that many of us at this point in time are returning to the earth, either in gardening or farming, in using natural products for the health of our bodies, or in returning to natural ritual practices as far as running or walking or hiking and all of that good stuff. So I've talked to all kinds of wonderful people who've done these things, and this evening I'm talking to Karen. And so, real quick, Karen, tell us where you are located right now, and just a little bit about yourself. But we're going to get into your full story later on.
I am actually located in Connecticut. We moved here from New York. My family and I, my husband and I, and our daughter moved here from New York. So I am actually located in Connecticut.
Connecticut. How's the weather right now?
Cold. Northeast, New England weather.
Yeah.
But it was actually not bad today. The weather
Okay.
was like maybe 40, but it was good, and the snow has finally melted, so it's quite muddy though,
Okay.
because we've
All
had
right.
a lot of snow, and the warm weather popped in and melted the snow, so it's mud everywhere now.
Yes. I hear you. Yep. Well, I hate to tell people who are up north that it's going really well in Houston during the winter.
Don't rub it in. We don't like that. No, no.
We're in the 50s and 60s, and it's pretty nice. So,
Oh, that's
but I'm glad
great.
that y'all are not like in the middle of any kind of snowstorm.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you all had one recently, right?
Yeah, we had some snow yesterday, believe it or not. Like a squall came in out of
Mm-hmm.
nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
but eventually it disappeared just as fast as it came in. It left.
Yes. Okay. Well,
Mother
good.
Nature.
There you go. You can't predict her.
No, no, absolutely not.
So we're just so happy to have you in this space. A lot of times people ask me, well, how are you meeting these people? And 99% of the time, it is via Instagram.
Instagram, that's right. That's right. Yeah. I was excited when you reached out because, most times I'm just there minding my business.
Well, I look, but you do such wonderful work. And so, before we get started, I do want to invite people. Just remember that those of us who are online making an effort to create these spaces and to show up in the virtual world need your following. So please
That's right.
look for us on Facebook and on Instagram. On Instagram at Garden of Zens. It's spelled out right there in her caption. And then for me at the Heirloom Foundation, please make sure that you all are following us and supporting us as we are
That's right.
figuring things out.
That's
We're
right.
not full experts, but we are becoming more
Yes,
of experts in ourselves, right?
absolutely.
So we want to
Absolutely.
welcome you to that space, and I will invite you again and again and again. So make sure that you all please join us, follow us, be a part of our community. So, Karen, let's talk about your childhood in nature. Do you have any key memories, core memories, when it comes to outdoors, outside, playing, anything?
Oh, oh yeah. Growing up, well, originally, I was born and raised partly in Guyana, which is in South America, and then my parents and my siblings and I migrated here. So we actually, everything was, you were running around, you were never in the house as
Yeah,
kids,
yeah,
we were always running around with our million cousins, because there's a lot of those,
yeah,
in my family, especially, we are large.
yeah.
So we were always with our friends and our cousins running around. So and climbing some trees and doing this and doing that. So we were always outside in among like the luscious green trees, the
Yeah.
fruits, the veggies, it was everywhere. And my grandparents lived directly across from us, so I would actually go over. We always went over constantly, mostly me, and they had a huge backyard, and they had a massive garden. The entire back of it was
Oh.
fruit trees, veggies, ponds with fish. I mean, it
Mhm.
was gorgeous. So I was always, digging around with them and running around, helping my grandma get this, get that, go get this, go get that, and
Yeah.
then, you're climbing the fruit trees as well because they're so huge that you just climb
Uh-huh.
up and get what you want, come back down, and it was a lot of fun. And that was just my mom's side of my mom's side, parents, and then I
Okay.
had my dad's side. So when we go to my grandma where she was, her property was just as huge and fruit trees everywhere. So
Wow.
that's all our entire young years was all outdoors and
Yeah.
among nature constantly all the time. So it was always fun to be outside and be a kid then.
I love that. Now, what flavors, what fruit come to mind when you think about childhood? You had a whole orchard in both of your family backyards. Well, what comes to mind?
Most of what actually mangoes, believe it or not,
Okay.
mangoes is it was so many varieties,
Yeah.
and there were always mangoes everywhere, but there were so many other fruits
Hmm.
that people are not aware of here that we have back home because of our climate. It's just mind boggling. And I think now a lot of people here are getting into the various like the ice cream is the ice. I don't know what is it, the ice cream fruit or something. It's like a long fruit with like pods in it. I
I
think
know.
they call it.
Is it a big, heavy fruit? You mean like not jackfruit?
Oh, we have those too.
But it's a softer white ice.
Yeah,
I don't
it's like a
know. Yeah,
long bean. The ice cream bean is called
vanilla bean.
here. Yeah,
Huh.
ice cream bean is called
Okay.
here. Yeah, and we, my grandparents had that. So that's another food I think people are getting to know here. But
Yes.
whereas for us, that's like everyday snack.
I
Just
love
go
that.
get it, come back down. That's it, or just take a branch and hit it from the ground because you can't
Yes.
reach. So
Yes.
it was always good, and the mangoes were always the best. They were so because it's
Oh,
sun ripened, you're not getting
yes.
it, green
Yes.
and yeah,
And you're getting them from where they come from.
yes,
I know that if my brother and my sister-in-law are watching, they'll let me know where they were when they have this story about just the biggest mango that like changed their lives somewhere, but it was because that's where they are.
yeah,
And I think that many of us think that we have had something amazing or good, or we always love to talk about tropical here, but it's nothing like having it from where it's from.
right, right, right. And it was a lot of it. It was a lot. As you know, some neighbor had about 10 varieties. The next neighbor got another three. It was so many,
Yes,
so
I
many of them.
love that.
Yeah.
Alana says, "Amazing, sis." Do you
Yeah,
know?
that's my best friend, actually.
Always so proud and happy for you. That's Alana encouraging you.
Yeah, that is my best friend. We've known each other since we were 10.
Oh my gosh, I love
Yeah.
that. I love it. Do you remember any particular meal? What is a meal that's distinctive to your childhood?
Oh, well, we were, to be honest, it's no particular meal, but our custom and our culture. Around Christmas time, we have what is called pepper pot.
Okay.
It's a dark stew and made with meat,
Mhm.
beef, mostly beef. And if you're not into that, you just eat it at that time because it's
Yes.
just our national dish,
Yes.
So that's the rest. That's actually the entire Guyanese culture
Yes.
is our pepper pot. And you
Yes.
ask anyone, pepper pot at Christmas time, but you can eat it anytime.
Right, but you
It's
remember it then. That's
distinctly
what is
Christmas
important.
time. Yeah. So
I
that's
love
actually one of
that.
my favorite dishes too. My parents make it for me whenever I feel like it. I like theirs better than mine.
Yes. Well, always,
Yeah,
always. But I love talking about food and background and culture because food is so important
it is.
to like it draws us directly back into a place of nostalgia and memories. And no matter how we may have changed, our palates have changed, there are certain smells and textures in food that take us back to something wonderful.
Right.
I always like to ask about that.
Well, mostly when we were growing up, we ate a lot of like during the week,
Hmm.
from Monday to or Sunday to Friday, it was fish and veggies.
Hmm.
And only on weekends did we have like Saturdays was
Yes.
meat. So we
Yes.
were predominantly like veggies and fish type of culture.
Hmm.
And then you come here and a whole lot of meat, And my husband laughs at me because in the wintertime I'm all fish. I
Yes.
I, say, I can't do the meat in the winter. I don't know what that's about. So
Heavy.
it's like stop.
My brother messaged me and said it was Costa Rica. It was Costa Rica. That's
Oh
why.
yeah, I bet it was. We loved Costa Rica. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful country. It
I can
really
imagine.
is.
I
Yeah.
can imagine. So let's talk about your story. So everybody seems to have a story. We have these connections to nature when we were younger. Then
Right.
we grow up, right? And we get busy with work and this and that, having children, all these responsibilities. And so our connections tend to separate, especially when it comes to like living in a city as opposed to a rural area or a tropical area. And we become disconnected because who has the time?
Right.
And then something happens in our lives that draws us back, that turns us back into that space, reminds us of how healing it was, reminds us of all that was good and lovely in that time. Do you have a story like that? Do you have something that has occurred in your life that has pulled you back into the space as an adult?
Oh yes. When we first moved to Connecticut, actually a little backstory. I was, one of my parents when we moved to New York. From Guyana many years ago, my parents, we first got to the Bronx and then they moved to Queens, New York. And for years, I was getting, at the end of every year, I would get very, very ill. And I would go to the doctor and they would can't figure out what it was. Then fast forward, my husband and I moved out here and I was diagnosed with toxoplasmosis, which is a parasitic disease of the eye that can also affect the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to look the way that I look and not be affected as much
Mm-hmm.
as some babies are when they're born is a blessing to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is, I give thanks every day for
Yes.
looking like this because it
Yes.
only affected my left eye.
Okay.
So when we moved up here, and I found out that, yeah, you have toxoplasmosis and it damaged my eye badly, just my
Mm-hmm.
left eye. So, I took that hard. And also, when I was diagnosed with that, and I had just had the baby and we moved here,
Mm-hmm.
and I wasn't driving at the time. So I
Mm-hmm.
was sequestered in the house, one car. My husband was the only driver.
Yeah.
And I had serious postpartum depression.
Yeah.
And I said to my husband, I said, I got to do something about this because I've never had a child before. I didn't know what postpartum depression was.
Mm-hmm.
And when we moved here, I see the yard space and I said, oh, I can start a garden.
Yeah.
So I just decided a little patch right in the front of the house. It was already there because I think the previous owner was an avid gardener because there was a
Okay.
lot of different beds and things. And the patch was there. And I said, no, I'm just going to add flowers. I hadn't thought of veggies and stuff at that point. I just wanted it to look pretty, something to look at. So I planted my first little patch in the front, and and it actually helped. Just being out there, playing in the dirt, digging and running around and putting flowers in, and then seeing them pop up.
Yeah.
It really, really helped a lot with the way that I was feeling, and it gave me something to do other than take care of the baby and then sit around, mope around, cry. You don't know what you're feeling, but you're crying and you're crying. You don't know why you're crying. And, it was really hard. But then when I started doing that, it really brought me back down. And I started realizing how peaceful I was, like how at peace I was when I was doing that, digging in the soil. And so every time that I've gotten some type of medical diagnosis I didn't want to hear, I took it in stride, and I used my garden as my coping mechanism to help me through, because not just toxoplasmosis that I have, but I also have mixed connective tissue disease, which is every autoimmune disease on planet Earth. I have a speck of it. I have a little bit of it.
Oh my goodness.
So, and not just so when one section flare up, they're telling me, I'm going to test you for lupus. I don't have lupus. You cannot test me. But they do it anyway. I think they get a joy out of poking. I'm convinced at this
Is that what it is?
I am convinced at this point. So but whenever I get, I accept my faith, whatever it is, every time I have to go to the doctor and they tell me, oh, this is it. I accept it. And then I go to my garden, and all is right in my world. It is my coping place.
Yes. Let me ask you, and if you don't mind, because you've mentioned one thing that many of us are familiar with, and one thing that we don't know anything about. So I'd love to hear more about what that looks like and what that diagnosis looked like, so that we can all kind of identify with it. So tell us about the toxoplasmosis. So what does that mean? What, you kind of told us where it affects, but what does that mean? How does that affect your body in a general sense?
To the beginning of it was my mom contracted it when she was pregnant with me, and she had no idea, because that's why they in when you come here and you get pregnant, they tell you to stay away from cats. It's a parasite that's within cats if they're unvaccinated, but for some reason they carry the parasite, the toxogandhi, and it affects the fetus. The mom will never know she have it, and it just and that's what happened with my mom, because both sets of my grandparents had cats. And back home, the cats roam around outside, and you go near them and they're hissing at you. And maybe my mom got scratched or came in contact with the feces, specifically the feces. And, then I was born, and we had no idea until I was diagnosed with it, because I remember going to the optometrist, and then she said to me, oh, did you hit your eye? I said, no, I never had an eye injury. She said, well, there's something wrong with your eye, but she wasn't equipped to tell me exactly what it was. And then my husband and I moved here, and I went to an optometrist again, and he pointed to the very last thing on the chart. And he says to me, this is what you have. No information, just give me a name. And that was the end of it. And then he said, there's nothing that can be done. And of course, my husband and I took it at face value until I was diagnosed with meningitis. Don't even ask how I got that. I never went to college. I stayed put in New York. I didn't go there. It was, and I was diagnosed with meningitis in 2014. And my doctor decided to wipe my immune system completely, because we weren't sure if it was bacterial or viral. So he decided to wipe my immune system completely with whatever the combination was. And because of that, the toxoplasmosis is an opportunistic parasite. So once that happened, it attacked and sent me to the hospital for an entire, what was I in the hospital? Yeah, for an entire week. And once it activates, the parasite starts to basically, to be a little graphic, eat the eye. So
Mm-hmm.
it started attacking the right, I started attacking the back of the eye.
Yeah.
So there, my vision in my left eye, I mean, I'm actually legally blind in my left eye.
Mm-hmm.
My peripheral vision is what works. The
Okay.
rest of it does not. But together, I see as 2020 because the
Yeah.
right eye does all the work.
Yes.
So once that attack, it took 3 years, 3 years of uh, 3 years of battle. To be
Yes.
honest,
Yes.
I went to so many doctors, and the first guy that I went to, he started treating me with antibiotics, and I am actually allergic to all antibiotics.
No, Karen. No.
Absolutely
Oh
allergic to
my God.
all antibiotics. So when he tried the first time and that didn't work, we tried again a second time with a different one. After the second try, he says to me, "You're a difficult patient. I can't help you." Then he pawned me off to someone else in
Yes.
Hartford. So I drove an hour away, and nor I would take my daughter with me at the time. This was a few years ago. I would take her with me because she was out of school, and she would see me get an injection directly into the eye. What ended up happening? He was injecting the antibiotics directly into my eye, so my eye was also having an allergic reaction to the antibiotics. So it
Yes.
was making, not only was the parasite eating my eye, but the allergic reaction was also damaging the
Yes.
eye as well. So my husband said there has to be something that could be done. So he went online. He's an avid researcher and reader. God bless him. So
Yes, indeed.
he
Thank
does
you
it
for
all.
that. Thank God for
Yeah,
that.
thank God for that. So he goes online, and we found what is it, babe? The Chicago University of Chicago. We found a Dr. Rima McLeod.
Hmm.
They have a whole toxoplasmosis section there, and that's all they focus on. They're
Uh-huh.
trying to bring awareness to the whole toxoplasmosis situation, because it's a lot of people that actually have toxoplasmosis, and most of us are from South America.
Wow.
There are a few people that's from here that have it as well, because it can also, from from what they said, you can also get it from undercooked meat,
Mm-hmm.
but it's unlikely for a Caribbean person or a person from South America to get that. Have eaten to death. Okay, I mean, like it's killed in our pan. So my husband reached out to her, and she was more than happy to help, and all she did it all for free. So
Wow.
with her guidance and her suggestions, and she recommend my current doctor, Dr. Paula Caney in Manhattan. So I go every 6 months now, being that it's dormant now. So what ended up happening, like once I got the treatment, so the treatment that they use for it was pyrimethamine, which is a drug for HIV.
Okay.
So, but it's supposed to go in combination with an antibiotics.
Right.
And
Which you can't
as
do.
we know, that did
Oh,
not work out well. So
yes.
I ended up just I ended up just taking the permethamine, and because the drug is so toxic,
Mm-hmm.
I had to be getting blood drawn 3 times a week, just
Yes.
to
To
make
make
sure the
sure.
levels were within normal range for me. And when Dr. McLeod had called one day, and she said, "I don't want to tell you the side effect of the drug, but this is what can happen. You could drop dead at any moment because it's a toxic drug." Of course, I'm driving home. Now, tears are streaming down my
Of
face because all
course.
I could think about is my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She's so young, and I know I'm not ready. What are you talking about?
Yes.
So the will to live and to get through this was so strong, because I'm like, no, I am not leaving my child. This is unacceptable.
Yes.
So the will to survive and get this under control was strong. Like I didn't want to give up. There were days that I felt like it,
Yes.
and but it out 99% of the time it was just, I can't give up. I gotta do this.
Yes.
So it's been we did that for a long time, and it was in 2017 that it finally became dormant again. So every 6 months I go for my checkup to make sure that everything is under control. So now we know what the regimen is. If God ever forbid that I have to have my system wiped again, this is the regimen we know that works for me. And apparently I've been the only patient that uh, just pyrimethamine worked. So
Wow.
yeah.
Thankfully, because that antibiotic thing is not an option.
No, it's not an option. So
Um,
that's why I can't get sick. I try, yeah, I try my very darndest and hardest not to get sick where I need antibiotics. So I had to get my allergist and I. So I have a team of different specialists that I deal with. So my allergist and I and my eye doctor decided that we were going to test 3 different antibiotics to see, now that I'm not active, to see which one I can tolerate for a short period of time.
Okay.
So the one that we came up with is azithromycin, but other than that, everything else I was allergic to again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for sharing that part of your story, because you have informed all of us. If anybody on here who's watching knew anything about this particular issue, I mean, I'm sure 100% of us are like, what? I appreciate that, because I think what we really want to always do in sharing space is also inform one another.
Yeah.
We need to inform one another and help each other understand what our bodies can undergo.
Yeah.
You mentioned, I'm going to have you go through your postpartum story too. You've given us too much, so much of yourself, and I don't want to invade, but just knowing that you have had this, and if by chance we ever hear the name again, we can tell somebody, oh, we know someone who's actually experienced this and actually has found the right people and the right treatment for her to provide support. Because we only know about like what the big 5, you know about diabetes, you know about cancers, and you know about all these other different things, but that one is new. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that with us and letting us know about it. And very happy to know that you are in a good space regarding
Absolutely. Yeah.
that you've got a team of support for that. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So you have this going on. You mentioned postpartum. We had a guest a few weeks ago, Brianna from Growing Up Torres, is watching us right now,
Right.
who talked about the details of postpartum. And
That's
I
right.
love that we're having so much more dialogue around this. And we are beginning to have so much conversation that no one can call these things phantom.
Right.
Like they're being made up, or
Right.
that it's just an individual issue. Postpartum has been something that has affected so many young people, and young people, older people who've experienced pregnancy. But
Right.
I think the challenge is, particularly with us, with those in the African community, in the African American diaspora, like you, I don't think they take us seriously. They don't take our pain seriously. They don't take our sadness seriously.
Right.
So when we experience it, it feels very, very insular, very alone, very isolating. And so I love that there's a community of people who are like, no, it's real.
It is real.
I've been through it,
Yeah.
and I'm finding ways to work through it, or I found ways to work through it. And so that gets us back to the garden.
Yeah.
You began to plant. It wasn't originally food.
No.
How did that describe your healing again in that process of planting? And then how did that become Garden of Zens?
When I first started with the little patch in the front, and I did the flowers and things, it was just, like I said, it was a way for me to cope with how I was feeling, because my husband was at work 45 minutes away. We just moved to Connecticut. So my family, my mom, my source, my rocks, they're all in New York. An hour and a half away. They're not far, but when you're not driving, it's forever. They're there. So, and I'm here with the baby, and it's just her and I. She doesn't communicate because she's little, So I was so lost. But when I did that patch and putting the flowers in and things like that, it really, it kind of, both of us was outside, because I would bring her outside with me and, just let her mess around with the soil. And, I was out there and just getting the peace from that. And then eventually I said, okay, let me just move it to the back, because the back is just as, more spacious, more open, and, more sunshine, because there's trees in the front. At the time, there were trees in the front. So I said to my husband, I'm just going to create a little patch, because I didn't want to be too overwhelmed, because, you're not really feeling yourself. So you didn't want to give yourself too much to do outside. Then you have the baby also to tend to. So when I created the patch in the back, I said, okay, I'll add a few lettuces and, different veggies. So I did one tomato, a few lettuces, and that was it. And the flowers, of course, because out of the bedroom window, I could see the little patch. So that would give me, like, I looked out and I saw the flowers. So it kind of brightened the mood a little bit. And when I did that, it, I got there and I said, okay, this is helping. Like the minute I got to that spot, honestly, like I would walk from the kitchen outside on deck, go get there. And the minute I crossed into it, I just, whatever heavy was sitting on my chest wasn't there. It was almost like it vanished. Like it's almost like there's a shield and I just walked through it and then it was all over. I wasn't feeling sad. I wasn't, I wasn't crying. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm sure a lot of gardeners have the same feeling.
The same feeling. You're not alone in it. So I had that
exact feeling.
But I know what you mean by kind of crossing over into that space. And I did find out recently, scientifically, apparently in soil, there are microbes, I think we talked about this, that help with antidepressive,
that's right,
of being, right? So if you were to ask me, someone who is deeply spiritual, I would say that God knew that we were going to need to connect back to the earth that was created from the beginning.
That's right.
And imparted that particular gift for us in the world. Brianna from Growing Up Taurus says that forming connections with the earth postpartum is so therapeutic.
It really is. She's absolutely right. It really is, because I wasn't feeling the way that I was feeling when I'm outside of it. And, eventually it became, my husband said, babe, why don't you expand? And I did. Eventually it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And, then my daughter said, Mom, she said to me one day, Mom, you spend so much time outside. You know what you should call it? This is your sanctuary. You should call it Garden of Zens. And so she said Zen, and I just added the S because there's so many feelings that I feel when I'm there. I'm always at peace, like tremendous peace. I could be out there. I am out there for hours. My husband will stick his head out, babe, it's 7 o'clock. It is? How long I've been out here? It's all day.
Transport in time and space and all of that.
Yeah, so that's how come it evolved. It was just a healing space for me because of, like I said, at the time it was, with the postpartum, that's how I got started with the small patch. And then, as the years went on, different things medically started happening to me. And even the doctors that I'm dealing with, they call me peculiar. That's the thing I get. And I get weird as well. So what I say to them, yes, my alien friends put me here, and they're going to come back eventually. They're just not ready yet for me. So here I am, yes, you've never seen one like me. So yes. Here I am. I'm unique. Let's figure this out. Yeah. So they always use peculiar and weird. So it's like, no. I'm unique. I'm one in a, I am me. So this is it. So that's why so when I get those diagnoses or something I don't want to hear, I get in my feelings for maybe a few days, like 3 days or so. And then, I go outside and I step in and I take a deep breath. And I was like, you know what? There's nothing I can do about it. I can fix it. If it's fixable, it can be fixed. If not, I accept it. I move on. I lay my burdens at my garden threshold. I cross over. and all is right with the world. And that
Yes.
has been my sanctuary, my healing space, my I even have dance parties in my garden by myself. So
That's wonderful, but I love that statement that you just said, that you lay your burdens at the threshold of your garden. And
yeah,
I think that we don't realize how often we do that or don't do that. How often we take whatever is out in the world that we cannot control into our intimate loving spaces with our family and our friends. And what happens is we project, right?
right.
The sadness, the frustration, the anger, instead of laying it down, and so you have a place, you created this natural altar to
Right.
lay that
To
down.
lay that down, yeah.
Yes, that's
You
wonderful.
have to. Too many burdens are simply too heavy.
Yes,
You know.
yes. So Garden of Zens, do you all currently produce in a way where you sell items right now? Is it still just a growing space? What's the work of Garden of Zens, and then what's the dream for Garden of Zens?
The dream is to have my own business, which I started.
Okay.
Small. This is actually the shirt, my logo. Actually, my
Oh,
daughter
that's
created this for
lovely.
me. Yeah, this is her face. Actually, she says no, but it is. She actually created this for me, and we just had a designer do the final touches.
Yeah.
But I actually do have a shop on Etsy that I started last November. A friend of mine, my dear friend Michelle, she
Mhm.
encouraged me. She said, "You should open a shop. You have so much great stuff." Because I always gift my friends different things,
Yes.
and they're like, "You should really sell this, or you should do this." Like they're my testers. So,
Yes.
and I decided. She said, "You should really do it." So I took her advice and I opened up the shop and last November. And so what I do, I grow a lot of peppers, I grow a lot of herbs. So, and I air dry them. Well, the herbs I air dry. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna put them up as well. So that's what I do. I sell dry herbs. I sell seeds now. All the seeds that I saved, like unique, like tomatoes or peppers or whatever. I put those up, and I also make pepper sauces from all the hot pepper sauces
Oh, yes.
from the peppers that I harvest from, and that's what I make 3 flavors of pepper sauces, but these are like super hot. So if you're not into heat, this is no, this will kill you.
So, Mr. So I don't forget, what is the name of your Etsy page so that people can know?
My shop is called Garden of Zens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they
So
can
you just have to look up, just look up the shop Garden of Zens, and
Okay.
that's it.
Everybody hear that? Those who like pepper,
And the
pepper
dry herbs, yeah.
sauce, yes, all of that. Please make sure you support. I love that as
And
well.
also, in the summertime with the pickled veggies, I also do pickled veggies, but once they're in the summer, like
Okay.
cucumbers and things like
Mhm.
that. Yeah, pickled peppers and but once they're in the summertime, if you don't have a cucumber harvest, then you're stuck. You
Right.
can't even do it. So I do those too. So all my friends are always my testers, and they've encouraged me to start it. And my biggest supporter is sitting on the couch. My hubby.
The real tester, right?
Yes, the real tester. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
do
He's
you
like
have
my supporter.
any product that's like your top product right now? I mean, it's only been November, but I know that
Yeah.
you're thriving.
My actually, it's a combination between the pepper sauces and the seeds now.
Okay.
Yeah, the pepper
People
sauces.
are into the seeds. They are into seeds, and
Yeah.
they are starting to kind of attach themselves to people that they trust when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to seeds. And I think people, you can buy them from the dollar store and the Home Depot and
Yeah.
all those places, but it's something about getting the seeds from somebody who has
Who
grown
Yeah. Yeah.
organically. And
Right.
so I hope for you that you get people who connect with you and are seasonally like, I want to get seeds from Garden of
Yeah,
Zen.
garden sense. That's right. Yeah. It's because it really is. You have to be careful with what you're putting in your garden as well. Like you said, you have to be careful from where you're getting your seeds. You have to be cautious, and you have to know that this seed is coming, because I don't use any type of pesticide or any of that stuff because of my health. One,
Yes.
And two, it's not good for the soil as well as my plants.
Mhm.
And also, the way our yard is, we're all of our neighbors here, each one of us, our yards are connected to each other.
Okay.
So my neighbor next door to me, he gardens as well. He crosses and comes over. We chat by the garden, and he'll ask me different questions. And he also doesn't use any type of pesticide as well. The guy next to him doesn't plant, so he's just a lawn guy,
Mhm.
which is fine. But all of us around here, all my neighbors, we are all pesticide free. Even if we do, those of us that do garden, those of us that don't, it's all pesticide free. We don't, so you kind of you're sure that at least no one isn't spraying something that's
Mhm.
gonna fly.
Mhm.
We had many years ago when we first moved, we had some lawn people come and try to treat the lawn, and at that time I had just started the small patch in the back, and I saw this green pebble thing on the ground. So I said, "Oh, what is this?" Oh, I
Mhm.
had a tantrum. I threw an epic tantrum. And then the guy said, "It is safe." I know he explained to me what it was. He said it was safe. I was like, "Are you sure?" It was one pebble looking thing.
And
One.
but you did
And
not
I had a
want
fit.
anything to do.
I had a total fit. It was one, just one single thing. And I had a fit because I was, because our daughter was young at the time as well. So you want to give her the proper, start her off properly with the veggies or whatever else. You don't want, pesticides. And what a lot of people don't know as well is that the pesticides that are put on the foods that we eat. I love cherries. I can eat a bowl of cherries in no time. What ended up happening, I started getting itchiness in my throat when I was
Mhm.
eating the cherries. So I go to my allergist and I said to her, "Oh, I can't believe I'm allergic to cherries." I was upset because I love cherries.
Mhm.
And she said to me, she said, "Let's test it." So she came to get it, she rubbed it on my hand and nothing happened. And then she said to me, this woman is a wealth of information. She's a walking encyclopedia. That is
Mhm.
what I called her. She said to me, she said, in actuality, we're actually, it's the pesticides that are actually put on the foods that causes our body to
Wow.
react. Yeah. So now most of the time is the stuff that's being sprayed to is what we are allergic to. Is not actually, can be the fruit or
Mhm.
whatever it is. But for people like myself, wasn't the cherry. It was actually the whatever was on the cherry.
Right. I believe there's been an uptick in allergies for a lot of
Mhm.
people, like
Yeah.
our children
Yeah.
and maybe a few generations, maybe our generation and our kids, and further back, are a lot more sensitive. And we would
Yeah.
want to believe that it might, that it's the food, but that's worth looking into.
Yes.
Seeing whether or
Yes.
not it's actually the pesticides that are on the food.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I would actually soak the cherry for an hour with warm water and then
Yes.
re-soak it again. And still, yeah, because it just
Wow.
goes to show you that they spray them from when they're starting the
Yes.
seedlings to, however and whatever they're putting on it. So you have to be very, very careful with what
Absolutely.
we're putting in our bodies. Yeah.
Absolutely. Which crop is your favorite crop to plant? And what always gives you what it's supposed to give?
Garlic.
Really?
Yeah. Garlic is my ultimate no fail crop. Garlic. Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
I started growing garlic a few years ago. I don't remember what year it was. I saw it I saw it at the farmers market,
Mhm.
and I bought a bulb. They were so huge, a big fat clove. I said, "Oh, I'm gonna try it," because obviously I said they had to stick it in the ground. So
Mhm.
that's what I did. I bought one clove, I stuck it in, and out came four huge bulbs, and I was addicted. No fail
Oh,
crop every year. My no fail crop. Yeah,
and you
because
can
other
never have enough garlic in
never,
our food.
never, never.
So we talked about this very, very briefly. I told everybody, like, I love the idea of gardening and I love to garden. I am
Right.
not good at it yet. So I'll be taking, some advice from everybody who's
That's
been
right.
on this show,
Yeah.
particularly really, really good at that. Um, but I, in my mind, if I were to grow anything, I want to grow the essentials:
Mm-hmm.
onion, garlic, bell pepper, jalapeno, the things that we always buy,
But yeah,
and that tend to rot in our house because you
yes,
buy so much and then you don't use it all
you
up.
do. Yeah.
But it's nothing like being able to go in your backyard. Like, I have a couple of leeks, very thin, struggling leaks. And I still like to go out there and get one or two.
That's it.
There's
There's
nothing.
nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Just going and picking it. There is nothing like that feeling. There is nothing like it.
That's right.
Your hard work, you're harvesting it, you're eating fresh, there's nothing on it. So it actually and it tastes so much better, doesn't it?
So much better. So much better. So much fresher.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me this. I mean, we are at about believe it or not, we always kind of talk until the hour is almost up. So about 15 minutes left. But I want to ask you, what legacy do you want to leave with your daughter regarding healing and the earth? I mean, I can imagine that this began because of what your body was experiencing after having her. But what do you want her to know and take from all of this? What do you want her to observe from you?
What I want her to know that she can overcome anything no matter what it is, and she can always hold her head up high regardless of what you're going through. I want her to know that her mom is actually a strong person, but
Yes.
I can be a little weakling on the inside. I'm strong for her face value, but then I'm like mush on the inside. I just want her to know that she has a strong foundation, and to the people around her support her and love her, because she sees how it is with her dad and I and our grandma, her grandpa, or whatever. I just want her to know that she can always count on those closest to her.
Yes.
To get her through anything.
Yes.
And my legacy is that she has to, that she should know that she can accomplish anything she puts her mind to, because I've, being a stay-at-home mom, and I wanted to do something for myself. And my husband said, we came up with different ideas. And then when I started making the stuff for my friends, and I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to do a small business. And I just wanted to know she could just accomplish anything that she put her mind to.
That's right.
That's all I want her to know, and that she's that she has a strong support system and the foundation is there for her.
Yes, yes. Does she have a favorite thing to grow? Is she into it yet?
She is not. She is 15, going to be 16. I can't even get her outside.
That's right.
She'll
in about 15 years, she'll say,
she'll get there.
My mom's doing this thing, and I really think I should go back to it, like all of us,
Yeah, she'll come outside with me, but she her skin is so sensitive that if she gets a bug bite, it welts up like really big. So she hates being outside. But she'll come in the garden with me, and she'll take pictures for me if I ask her to. So those things, and she'll tell me, Mama, can you plant this, or can you plant that? Because she eats a lot of veggies and stuff, so she'll tell me what she wants, and I'll do it. Yeah,
that's a good thing. That's a really, really
oh yeah, definitely. We want them to be healthy.
That's right. That's right. Well, as we wrap up, I always make sure that I ask or do what I call a rapid fire affirmation with my guest. I don't want you to overthink this. I want the first word or two that come to mind. Just fill in the blank. So I just clear your mind. And I thought of this. One, I was inspired by Brené Brown, who is an author who studies, interestingly enough, guilt and shame. That's what she studies. But she does these she does these rapid fire questions at the very end, just to get like the honest answer from her guests. This is an affirmation because I think that all of us in this community have learned how important it is to speak and to live into the positivity of our words and our experiences. So that's what this is. So the statement is, it is in my nature to see blank.
Okay.
All right. So when I say it's in my nature to see, tell me what is it in my nature to see what in the world? Okay.
Oh, you want me to answer that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Actually, kindness.
Kindness. It is in my nature to feel
loved.
It is in my nature to attract
the right people.
Mm-hmm. It is in my nature to reject
The wrong people.
Yes. Yes. It is in my nature to embrace.
Love
Mm-hmm. It is in my nature to love.
myself.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
You want to change it?
No.
Okay.
You
And
have
it's
to love yourself. You
yes,
have to
that's
love
right. In
yourself.
order to love others well, we have to love
Yes,
ourselves
we
well.
love ourselves. Yes.
And the last one is it is in my nature to be.
Kind.
Yes. You have a theme here, and you're going to see this in a moment. So, thank you. First of all, I'm going to thank you for being in this space, for sharing what you have shared, for informing all of us about something that we should just all be aware of, um, for encouraging us to go back to the space in Earth to, as you said, lay our burdens at the threshold of our gardens. I want to thank you for that. And and I want you to know that here at Heirloom, we are in agreement with you, and we pray that you and God are co-creators of this world you've created in your affirmation. That you get to see kindness and feel loved, that you attract the right people and reject the wrong ones, that you embrace love, that you love yourself well, and that you are kind.
I
So
love that. I need that frame. I
I'm
need that
going to
frame.
I'm going to get something to you, I promise. But yes, that is your affirmation. That is what we pray for you and your family, and even more. So
Thank
I
you.
want to
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. And for the time, it is later on your end than it is on mine. So I want to thank you. Please, anybody who's been listening, do not forget to support at Garden of Zens with an S on Instagram, on Facebook, and search for that same name on Etsy and support her as she is
That's right.
growing this wonderful business of organic seeds and pepper sauce and pickled vegetables, all kinds of great
That's
stuff.
right.
And
Yeah. Thank you.
then I also ask that you all support the Heirloom Foundation. You can find the Heirloom Foundation on Facebook and on Instagram at the Heirloom Foundation. We are doing our best to create these beautiful, positive spaces where people of color find ways to reconnect with the earth in as we process through our trauma, process through our pain, process through our life, process through our joy.
That's right.
And we have all found these safe spaces in nature, natural products, and natural practices. So we invite you to do the same. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.